got it. All right. So before you guys got here with the magic of television, we have already heated this up to 180 degrees. This is your cooked yogurt. This is the easiest way to get started if you've never, ever, ever made yogurt before. Trust me. Don't start, unless you're a really, really, really good cook, start with the raw milk yogurt, because it's a trial and error type thing. This is the easiest way to get started to really starting making your own cultured foods. So this right here, I heated up. It was a half a gallon of our Jersey Girls milk from our co-op, and it's a half a gallon of it. I heated it up to 180 degrees. What that does is essentially pasteurizes the product. Sounds bad. However, when you start with a quality product, you're gonna be left with some good enzymes in here still as well. When you heat up to 180 degrees, it will decrease your chances for the curdling of the product. So what I'm going to add here in just a minute is about a quarter to a half a cup of yogurt. The starters that are out there are really hard to work with. There's powdered starters that you can get online. They're excellent, excellent starters, but for the novice, they're very difficult to work with. Trust me, I've tried, and you don't want to waste this precious milk. You really don't, and I've done it, and it was really sad. And this particular yogurt, the brown cow yogurt, it's a whole milk, plain cream on top yogurt. So when you open it up, there's a cream layer on top, which is kind of nice. That means it hasn't been homogenized, meaning it hasn't been pushed through a sieve at very, very high pressure, which kind of breaks apart proteins, and it damages the milk. So you want to have milk separate. When we go and get our stuff at Eden Natural Foods, our co-op that we have, it has got a cream line on it. From usually, I mean, the springtime. You know, springtime, it's like half. Oh, does it show on there? Can you see it? It's kind of, well, it's kind of a little too shaken up. Yeah, it's a little too shaken up. Yeah. But there's a cream line on it, especially in the springtime. In the wintertime, it's still pretty thick right here. But in the springtime, it's like half cream. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. It used to be that you would pick milk from the milkman by how thick your cream line was. How far we have come. Now we are picking milk with less and less fat that is just disgusting. I'm sorry, I won't even touch it. Won't even enter in my home.
We can talk about that maybe in a minute.
Yeah.
Why that's so important.
Oh, yeah. So at this point right now, I heat it up to 180 degrees, and then you need to get it to 120 degrees. You need to cool it down, because when you put your culture in, you don't want to kill your bugs. All right, perfect. We are right at 118 degrees. So 118 to 120 degrees is perfect. It takes about 12 to 15 minutes to heat up to 180 degrees. You want to watch it because you don't want it to scorch. And then it takes about 45 minutes for it to cool down to 120 degrees. So be patient. I mean, do something else. Watch a show, fold laundry, whatever you got going on. Just let it sit. It might have like a little layer on top, like a little skin on top as it cools. Don't worry about that. I mean, you can skim it off if you want to. I just scrub it back in. It's good stuff. It's not gonna hurt you. All right, so you get your whisk, and you want to whisk it in pretty good. Don't be afraid of it. You want to whisk it in pretty good. Okay. Now you want a clean ball jar. Make sure it's clean. You want to make sure that everything that you're using is as clean as possible. You don't have to sterilize or anything like that. I mean, I've done this enough to know what it does and doesn't tolerate. It doesn't have to be like, sterilized to the point where,
It's not, you're not canning it. It's not going to explode or anything like that.
Yeah. So this is everything tried and true here. I've been doing this for several years. In order to keep things not as messy, you want to have a nice wide funnel, ball jar, and use this. Trust me, because I've made plenty. And all you do is just pour it in there. We'll probably have a little bit more than this ball jar will hold.
Yeah, the brown cow, The brown cow works so much better than other brands.
I've tried, like when I couldn't get, I was just telling Dr. Christie this morning, that I have tried other brands, even the organic, all sorts of different ones, powdered cultures, everything. And this is the only one that makes the thick yogurt. I don't know why. I'm guessing it's because it's got a high probiotic content. It is non-GMO. It is from Jersey cow milk. And that's what makes a big, big difference, I think, too. We'll talk about the difference between the milks and everything like that and why we really like the Jersey Guernsey milk. Can you guys do this?
You're getting to the hard part where you screw on the lid.
Do you have to worry about that it's not metal or not a certain material for the spoon?
No, you know, one of the things that I did here when I was first learning how to do this is that when your yogurt is done, using a wooden or a plastic spoon to take it out as you're serving yourself, multiple times, you're going in there multiple times, right? You're not eating it all at once. That a metal spoon will make it separate faster. I haven't seen that.
We're gonna get some samples together while you finish that up.
Okay. So typically in my house, I just have a little bit left here. I'll just get a smaller jar and pour it in there. I usually too have like a little jar about this big that was in my old yogurt maker, which you don't need. A glass jar that I would put that in there, and that would be my sample for my next one, for my next batch. So the hard part, watch. Nice and tight.
So
All right.
you said sample, but would it be your starter?
Your starter, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, thank you, Tammy. All right. So this high-tech piece of equipment, it's just what you put it in. I've got just, rags that I have. This is what I make mine in. Put it in here like this. Watch, this is really difficult. Watch. Just so quiet.
We're expecting a rabbit.
Okay, I'm gonna do something
The
magic.
towels moist or anything? No? Okay,
Just
they're
towels.
just regular old towels.
Just regular old towels, towels out. I mean, you use hand towels. I'm gonna use hand towels, so. And watch, like this. You set it on your counter for 24 hours. You will get yogurt in 8 to 12, but a full 24 hours for those of you that have problems with, you've been told you're lactose intolerant, this right here will have very, very little lactose in it. The longer you culture it, the more sugar is eaten by the bugs. Okay, the good probiotics that are in there. So it does become more sour the longer that you keep it in here. However, that sourness is because that milk sugar is being eaten. Does that make sense? So if you like it more on the sweeter side and you don't have a problem digesting, milk sugar, then 8 to 12 hours would be sufficient for you. But for those of you that really need some help with digestion, I would highly recommend you do it for the full 24 hours. So basically what I usually do is I start it in the morning. It's about that long hands-on time. I mean, it really isn't that long. Most of the work is done while you're doing something else. So it's super simple. And then the next morning, you take it out the same time that you put it in. Simple as that. How many here could do this? I mean, it's not rocket science, I promise. And you don't need many tools. You need things that you already have in your house. I mean, does everybody have a funnel? If you don't, they cost like 99 cents. Go to the dollar store. Again, dollar store. And a ladle. Everybody has one of these. And, just this is a turkey thermometer. Meat thermometer. I even use a special one. Mm-hmm.
So then for your next batch, your starter, so you should maybe set some aside, keep it as your starter so you're not dipping from it, and then that.
Yeah, or you can make just another small jar of it. And that's what I usually use. I usually have just a little jar that I make just separate from this, and I use that as my starter for the next time. So you don't have to keep on buying this.
If you use more yogurt as a starter, does it go faster?
No, I mean it's the same. You mean as far as culture faster?
Yeah, like you used 2 tablespoons of the starter.
It's
That's
about a
what
quarter
this says.
cup, but really, a quarter cup to a half a cup. I mean, I don't even measure, and it works every time. It works every time. It's very forgiving. The one thing you don't want to do with this is you don't want to move it around. If you have people that like to move things in your kitchen, put a sticky on there that says "Do not touch" for fear of death. You know, something like that. All right. But I would make sure that this just doesn't move. It gets finicky if you move it too much. But I mean, that's really about it.
So the starter that you put in the jar, the starter that you put in the jar, it's in there too, or did you put it in the fridge?
No, it's in here too.
Okay.
Yeah. You basically you make a small jar of yogurt to use for the next batch. Does that make sense?
Right.
Didn't it expire? Isn't it like sour? The one from the previous batch? It's been 2 weeks, so then you're using it to make a new batch?
No, it'll be fine.
It is still fine?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when you're ready to make your next batch, it should be just fine. You don't want to last longer than that 2 weeks, but it should be just fine.
Because you're heating it again, and so is that what?
Well, the starter isn't going to be heated. It's you only put the starter in when it's cooled down to 118 to 120 degrees. So if it takes you longer to eat it than 2 weeks, then you probably wouldn't want to use that starter. You probably want to get a new batch.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so then like the starters, you're eating it like it's like a 4 weeks lifespan?
No. So you want to use everything within 2 weeks,
Okay.
including making a new batch.
Okay.
Good question. Yeah.
She had my question.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. You read each other's minds. I like it. Okay. Yes.
So when you make the next batch with your home starter, you just do everything you did?
Mhm.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
What are the racks for?
That's just to keep everything insulated. Just a little bit more insulation there, keep it nice and tucked in. Basically, you're tucking it in, making sure all that's nice and warm in there for a long period of time. Even after 24 hours in one of these things, you'd be really surprised. It's still a little warm when you take it out for 24 hours.
I have an alternate method that I used to use
Mhm.
when I could eat dairy. Stock pot, put the jar in there, fill it up with hot water. There's a temperature you can't go above.
Yeah.
My kitchen didn't get that hot.
Yeah.
Overnight, throw out the water and put another batch of hot water the next day, 24 hours later. It was very thick.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another way. If anybody has a dehydrator, dehydrators work really good as well. You can make smaller ones because they're only so high that fit in there. You know, you could use that. There's specific instructions on how to use a dehydrator. Most of them come with those instructions. An Instant Pot, they actually have instructions to make yogurt as well. I just find the low tech so much easier. Most everybody has all of these things at home. You don't have to go out and buy anything. Oh, one more thing really, really important to make sure you get it nice and thick. When you take it out of here, put it in your refrigerator for 2 to 3 hours to let it set.